They rescued a crying baby in the woods, but it wasn't human. The crying started just after midnight. At first, Emily thought she was dreaming. A soft cry drifted through the quiet woods outside their house. Wah, wah. It sounded like a baby. Emily opened her eyes slowly. The room was dark except for the pale light of the moon shining through the window. She sat up in bed. The crying came again. Long. Weak. Lonely. Her heart began to beat faster. Mark, she whispered, shaking her husband gently. Mark, wake up. Mark groaned and rolled over. What is it? He mumbled. Listen. They both stayed silent. For a few seconds, the night was still. Then it came again. A baby's cry. Clear this time. Wah, wah. Mark frowned. That sounds like a baby. Emily nodded slowly. But who would leave a baby out here? Their house stood far from the city. It sat alone at the edge of a thick forest in northern Oregon. The nearest neighbor lived almost 2 miles away. No one walked through those woods at night. No one. The cry came again. Louder now. Emily felt a chill run through her body. It sounds close, she said softly. Mark swung his legs out of bed. Maybe someone abandoned it. Emily grabbed his arm. At midnight. In the woods. Mark didn't answer. He walked to the window and looked outside. The forest stood silent and dark. Tall trees swayed slowly in the cold wind. Nothing moved. But the crying continued. Soft. Sad. And strangely steady. I'm going to check, Mark said. Emily's eyes widened. You're going outside. We can't ignore a baby. She hesitated. He was right. If someone had truly left a baby out there, it would die in the cold. Emily grabbed the flashlight. I'm coming with you. The night air was freezing. The wind rustled the dry leaves on the ground as they stepped outside. Mark held another flashlight. The beams of light cut through the darkness as they walked toward the tree line. The crying became louder. Wah, wah. Emily felt her stomach twist. Do you hear that? She whispered. Mark nodded. It's definitely coming from the woods. They stepped between the trees. Branches cracked under their shoes. The forest smelled damp and cold. The crying suddenly stopped. Emily froze. Why did it stop? Mark shined his light around. Nothing. Just trees. Just shadows. Then. Wah. The cry exploded from somewhere deeper in the woods. Emily jumped. Jesus. Mark walked toward the sound. Stay close. They pushed through thick bushes. The flashlight beams danced across the ground. Then Emily saw something. Mark, wait. She pointed ahead. Something moved in the bushes. Small. Wrapped in cloth. Mark slowly stepped closer. The crying started again. Wah, wah. His face went pale. Oh my God. Emily gasped. It was a baby. A tiny baby lying in the bushes. Wrapped in a dirty blanket. Its face was red from crying. Its little hands waved weakly in the air. Emily rushed forward. Oh my God, oh my God. She knelt down and gently picked the baby up. The crying stopped instantly. The baby looked at her. Its eyes were wide. Very wide. Too wide. But Emily didn't notice. Who would do this? She whispered. Mark looked around the woods. Hello, he shouted. No answer. Is anyone here? Only the wind replied. The forest stayed silent. Mark rubbed the back of his neck. This is messed up. Emily rocked the baby gently. It's freezing. Mark looked uneasy. Maybe we should call the police. Emily nodded. Yeah, but we can't leave the baby here. The baby suddenly smiled. Emily blinked. That's strange. What? Mark asked. It just stopped crying so suddenly. Mark shrugged. Maybe it feels safe now. Emily held the baby closer. The little girl stared directly into Emily's eyes. Unblinking. Silent. Too silent. A cold wind blew through the trees. Emily shivered. Let's go home. Back in the house, Emily wrapped the baby in a warm blanket. Mark called the police station. But the line kept dropping. The storm outside had damaged the phone signal again. We'll try again in the morning, Mark said. Emily nodded. The baby sat quietly in her arms. Too quietly. You're such a calm little thing, Emily said softly. The baby stared at her again. Without blinking. Emily felt uneasy. But she ignored the feeling. Maybe she's just tired. Mark sat beside her. What do we do until morning? Emily smiled gently. We take care of her. The baby slowly turned its head toward Mark. Then it smiled. But something about the smile felt wrong. Very wrong. Mark rubbed his arm. Did the room just get colder? Emily noticed it too. The air suddenly felt icy. Mark checked the thermostat. It's normal. Emily looked down at the baby. The baby was still smiling. Then suddenly, it laughed. But it didn't sound like a baby laugh. It sounded deeper. Mark froze. You heard that too, right? Emily forced a smile. It's probably just a weird baby sound. But deep inside, fear began to grow. Around 3 a.m., strange things started happening. The lights flickered. The house creaked loudly. The baby woke up and began staring at the hallway. Not crying. Just staring. Emily followed its gaze. Nothing was there. Mark. Yeah. Do you feel like someone else is in the house? Mark tried to laugh. You're just tired. But even he felt it now. A strange presence. Like they were not alone. Suddenly, the baby started crying again. Loud. Violent. Whir. 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 Emily rocked her gently. It's okay, it's okay. Then the baby stopped. And turned its head slowly toward the hallway again. Mark followed its eyes. The hallway light suddenly turned off. Click. Both of them froze. Mark whispered, "Did you do that?" No. The house fell into darkness. The baby began to giggle. A low, disturbing giggle. Mark felt goosebumps crawl across his skin. Then the baby whispered something. Very softly. So soft Emily almost missed it. Mommy. Emily's heart nearly stopped. Did it just talk? Mark stared at the baby. That's impossible. The baby smiled again. A slow, creepy smile. Then suddenly, a loud bang came from the front door. Both of them jumped. Bang. 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 Someone, or something, was hitting the door. Emily whispered in fear. Mark, who would be here at this hour? Mark grabbed the baseball bat. I'll check. He slowly walked toward the door. The banging stopped. Silence. Mark opened the door. No one was there. Only darkness. Only the cold wind. Then Mark noticed something on the ground. A piece of paper. He picked it up. His hand started shaking as he read it. Emily walked closer. What does it say? Mark looked pale. Emily. What? He slowly turned the paper toward her. The message was written in red ink. Or maybe not ink. It said, "You should have left her there." Emily felt her blood turn cold. Behind them, the baby started laughing again. Slow, low, and very, very wrong. And this is where the real nightmare begins. Because what Emily and Mark brought home from the woods was never a normal baby. As we proceed in this story, the terrifying truth about the child will begin to reveal itself, and the couple will realize something evil followed them home from the forest. But before you continue, ask yourself this. What would you have done if you heard a baby crying alone in the woods at midnight? Would you rescue it? Or would you walk away? Because sometimes, the kindest choice can become the deadliest mistake. If you want to uncover what happens next, make sure you continue watching this terrifying story. And if this story made your heart race even a little, stay with the story until the end. Because the truth about that baby is far more horrifying than you can imagine. Mark stood frozen at the door. The cold wind blew against his face, but he barely felt it. His eyes stayed fixed on the message written on the paper. You should have left her there. Emily grabbed the note from his hand. Her fingers trembled as she read it again. Mark, who wrote this? Mark looked out into the darkness of the forest. I don't know. The tree swayed slowly in the wind. For a moment, it almost looked like something was moving between them. Watching. Waiting. Emily quickly shut the door. Lock it. Mark turned the lock immediately. Click. Behind them, the baby continued laughing softly. That strange, unnatural laugh. Emily turned around slowly. The baby sat on the couch where she had placed her. Still wrapped in the blanket. Still smiling. But something had changed. The room suddenly felt colder. Much colder. Emily walked back to the couch. Okay, something is not right. Mark nodded. You think? Emily picked up the baby again. The baby stared into her eyes. Unblinking. Maybe we should drive to the hospital tonight, Emily said. Mark glanced at the window. The wind outside had grown stronger. Rain began hitting the glass. That storm is getting worse, he said. The road through the forest floods easily. Emily sighed. Then we called the police again. Mark grabbed his phone. Still no signal. He frowned. This doesn't make sense. What? The signal was working earlier today. Emily looked down at the baby again. Something about its face made her uneasy. Its skin looked slightly pale. Almost gray. Mark, look at her. Mark stepped closer. The baby suddenly stopped smiling. Its eyes slowly shifted toward him. Then it made a sound. Not a cry. Not a laugh. More like a growl. Low. Deep. Mark stepped back immediately. Did you hear that? Emily nodded slowly. That didn't sound like a baby. The baby suddenly burst into tears again. Loud. Whir. Whir. Emily panicked. Okay, it's fine, it's fine. She rocked the baby gently. But the crying grew louder. And louder. Until suddenly, it stopped. Instantly. Emily froze. The baby's eyes slowly turned toward the hallway again. The same hallway. The same darkness. Emily whispered, why does it keep looking there? Mark stared at the hallway too. A strange feeling crept over him. Like someone was standing there. Watching them. But there was nothing there. Or at least, nothing they could see. Around 4 a.m., things became worse. Much worse. Emily placed the baby in a small basket beside the couch. Let's try to rest a little, she said. Mark sat beside her. Neither of them could sleep. The baby was quiet again. Too quiet. The house creaked loudly. Wind howled outside. Then, footsteps. Mark sat up immediately. Did you hear that? Emily nodded slowly. The sound came from upstairs. Step. 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 Mark whispered, there's no one upstairs. Emily felt her chest tighten. The footsteps continued. Slow. Heavy. like someone walking across the floor. But they lived alone. Mark grabbed the baseball bat again. I'm checking. Emily grabbed his arm. Don't go alone. The footsteps suddenly stopped. Silence filled the house. Mark slowly walked toward the stairs. Each step creaked loudly. Emily stayed near the couch, holding the baby basket. Mark climbed the stairs slowly, one step at a time. His heart pounded loudly in his chest. When he reached the top, the hallway light flickered, then turned on. The hallway was empty. Every door closed. Everything normal. Mark checked the guest room. Nothing. He checked the bathroom. Nothing. Then he opened the bedroom door. Nothing. He sighed. Must have been the house settling. As he turned around to go downstairs, he froze. The door to the attic was open. Mark's stomach dropped. He was sure it had been closed. Very sure. The attic ladder slowly creaked downward. Creak. Mark stared at it. A cold chill ran down his spine. The attic was dark. Completely dark. Then something moved up there. A shadow. Mark's heart nearly stopped. Hello. No answer. Just darkness. Then, a whisper. Very soft. Very close. Mark. His blood turned cold. The voice sounded like Emily. But Emily was downstairs, holding the baby. Mark slowly backed away from the attic. Then suddenly, bang! The attic door slammed shut. Mark jumped and ran downstairs. Emily looked up in panic. What happened? Mark's face was pale. There's something upstairs. Emily shook her head. No, don't say that. I heard your voice, Mark said. Emily stared at him. I never went upstairs. Both of them slowly turned toward the baby. The baby was staring at them again, with that same strange smile. Then it began to clap its tiny hands. Slowly. Clap. 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 Emily whispered, "That's not normal." The baby suddenly spoke again. Clearer this time. Mommy. Emily gasped. Babies that young cannot talk. Mark backed away. What the hell is that thing? The baby's smile widened. Its eyes suddenly turned darker. Much darker. Almost black. Then the lights in the house went out. Everything went dark. Emily screamed. Mark. I'm here. The baby started laughing again. That same deep, unnatural laugh. The darkness felt alive. Like something was moving around them. Emily grabbed Mark's arm. We need to get out of this house. Now. Mark nodded. Grab the keys. Emily grabbed them quickly. They rushed toward the door. But when Mark opened it, he froze. Emily stepped beside him and screamed. The forest outside looked different. Completely different. The trees looked twisted. Longer. Darker. Like they had grown closer to the house. The path to the road was gone. Completely gone. Just thick forest in every direction. That's impossible, Mark whispered. Then they heard something behind them. A voice. A child's voice. But not the baby's. A different child. It whispered from the living room. Don't leave. Emily slowly turned around. The baby was no longer in the basket. The basket was empty. Emily's heart stopped. Mark. He turned slowly. The baby stood in the middle of the living room floor, standing. Babies that small cannot stand. But it stood. Smiling. Its head tilted slightly. Watching them. Then it spoke. In a voice that sounded far too old. You brought me home. Mark grabbed Emily's hand. We need to run. The baby's smile slowly faded. Then its voice became cold. You shouldn't have done that. The floor beneath them suddenly shook. The walls creaked loudly. Something scratched inside the walls. Something big. Something angry. Emily began crying. What is happening? The baby raised its tiny hand. The scratching inside the wall stopped instantly. Then it whispered one final sentence. And the words made Mark's blood run cold. You weren't supposed to hear me crying. The truth is beginning to show. The baby in the woods was never lost. It was waiting. Waiting for someone kind enough and foolish enough to bring it home. As we continue in this story, the terrifying origin of the child will finally be revealed, and Emily and Mark will learn the horrifying truth about what really lives in the forest behind their home. But before you continue, think about this. If you found something crying in the woods, and it looked like a helpless baby, would you still take it home? Or would you run? Because sometimes, the things that cry for help are the very things that haunt us. Emily could not breathe. The baby stood in the middle of the living room floor, standing, watching them, smiling. But it no longer looked like a normal baby. Its eyes were dark, too dark, like deep holes. The house trembled slightly again. Mark slowly pulled Emily behind him. Stay back, he whispered. Emily's voice shook. That thing isn't a baby. The creature tilted its head slowly. It watched them the way a hunter watches prey. Then it giggled. A low, disturbing giggle. You brought me home, it said again. Its voice was strange. Like many voices speaking at once. Mark forced himself to speak. What are you? The baby smiled wider. A smile that stretched too far across its face. I was hungry. Emily covered her mouth. Mark felt ice run through his veins. Hungry. The creature's small hand slowly opened. Its fingers were longer now. Thin. Sharp. I cry, it said softly. People come. The lights flickered again. The walls creaked. Emily whispered in horror. Oh God. Mark slowly backed toward the door. We are leaving. The creature shook its head slowly. No. The front door suddenly slammed shut. Bang. The windows rattled violently. Wind roared outside like a storm. Mark ran to the door and tried to open it. It would not move. It felt locked by something stronger than any lock. Emily cried. Mark, it won't let us leave. The creature began walking toward them. Slow. Small steps. But something was wrong with its movement. Its legs bent strangely. Almost like a puppet. You heard me crying, it said. You came. Emily shook her head violently. No, we were trying to help. The creature stopped walking. Its head twisted slightly. Help. Then it laughed. The sound echoed through the house like many voices laughing at once. You humans always think that. Mark grabbed the chair and held it like a weapon. Stay back. The creature stared at the chair. Then its smile disappeared. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly. Cold air filled the house. Emily could see her breath. The creature spoke again. But the forest was lonely. Mark's voice trembled. What forest? The creature pointed slowly toward the dark woods outside. My home. Emily remembered the twisted trees they saw earlier. Her heart sank. You live in the forest. The creature nodded slowly. For a long time. Its eyes suddenly looked older. Much older. People used to come long ago. Its voice sounded almost sad now. They heard crying. They came to help. Emily whispered. And then what happened? The creature smiled again. They stayed. Mark's stomach twisted. You killed them. The creature tilted its head. Not at first. Emily felt a wave of horror rise inside her. What do you mean? The creature slowly raised one small finger and pointed at the walls. Something inside the walls moved again. Scratching. Crawling. Emily screamed. What is that? The creature giggled. My family. The scratching grew louder. Mark stepped back. The walls began bulging slightly. Like something large was moving inside them. Emily grabbed Mark's arm. We need to run. But the creature suddenly screamed. A loud, horrible scream. The sound shook the entire house. The walls cracked. The windows shattered. Glass exploded across the floor. Then silence returned. The creature looked at them again. And now its face was different. Angry. You tried to leave. Mark raised the chair higher. We're not staying here. The creature's eyes turned completely black. You brought me home. You belong to us now. The scratching inside the walls grew louder. Something was coming out. Mark suddenly remembered something. The note. You should have left her there. Someone had warned them. Someone knew. Mark whispered to Emily. We need to get it out of the house. Emily looked confused. What? If it came from the forest? Emily suddenly understood. Take it back. The creature had them. Its smile slowly faded. No. Mark suddenly rushed forward. He grabbed the creature before it could react. It felt heavier than a normal baby. Much heavier. Like holding a stone. The creature screamed loudly. The walls began cracking open. Long, dark hands pushed through the walls. Emily screamed in terror. Mark shouted. Open the door. Emily ran to the door again. She pulled with all her strength. The door suddenly burst open. The storm outside roared. Wind rushed into the house. Mark ran toward the forest, holding the screaming creature. The creature scratched his arms. Its nails were sharp. Blood ran down his skin. Put me down, it screamed. But Mark didn't stop. He ran deep into the woods. Emily followed behind him. Rain poured heavily. Lightning flashed across the sky. The forest looked darker than before. Almost alive. Mark reached the bushes where they had first found the baby. The creature suddenly stopped screaming. It became very quiet. Too quiet. Mark looked down. It was smiling again. Too late, it whispered. Then something moved in the forest. Many things. Shadows appeared between the trees. Tall shapes. Thin shapes. Watching them. Emily whispered in horror. Mark, we are not alone. Dozens of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness. Watching. Waiting. The creature giggled. You came to my home. The shadows slowly moved closer. Mark realized the truth. The crying baby was bait. To lure humans into the forest. And once they came close enough, they would never leave. Emily grabbed Mark's arm. We need to go. Mark dropped the creature onto the ground. Stay here. The creature laughed. You cannot leave. The shadows stepped closer. Long arms. Thin bodies. Hollow faces. Emily screamed. Mark grabbed her hand. Run. They ran through the forest as fast as they could. Branches cut their skin. The shadows chased them. Whispers filled the trees. Hungry whispers. But suddenly, they burst out of the forest. Back onto the road. The storm suddenly stopped. The forest behind them became quiet again. Too quiet. Mark turned around slowly. The shadows were gone. The creature was gone. The forest looked normal again. Emily collapsed onto the road, crying. Mark sat beside her, both of them shaking. They stayed there until sunrise. When the sun finally rose, they looked toward the forest again. The bushes where they found the baby were still there. Silent. Empty. As if nothing had ever happened. But something on the ground caught Mark's eye. Another piece of paper. He walked slowly toward it. His hands trembled as he picked it up. Emily whispered. "What does it say?" Mark read the words slowly. Then his face turned pale. Emily grabbed the paper. Her heart nearly stopped. The message said, "Next time, walk away." Emily looked toward the forest one last time. The wind moved softly through the trees. For a moment, she thought she heard it again. A baby crying. Far away. Waiting. But before you leave this story, ask yourself one question. If you were walking through the woods at night, and suddenly heard a baby crying in the bushes, would you go closer? Or would you run? Because somewhere out there, something might still be crying, waiting for someone kind enough to make the same mistake. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, share it with someone who loves terrifying stories. And remember, not every cry for help is human.